Welcome to Spirals, an effort in preventing trauma by talking about difficult topics. The content may be triggering. If you have any questions or comments, please send them to spirals@unicornvoice.com. Hi,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm good. Yeah,
That wasn't very convincing.
no, but I am.
I'm glad.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
I'm a bit nervous, a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's why I hesitated.
I think everyone gets a little nervous. I do too every time I record anything because it's so visible.
Yeah,
You're, oh no, if one thing is if you're walking around, filming yourself, it's different like walking in the nature, kind of like those clips because it's so many things happening. You don't think about as much how you look, but now you're sitting down, people are going to look right on your face, your arms, everyone who interprets everything. This is, at least I know you do that, I do that too, so yeah, it's normal. You'll forget it after a while. So I wanted to just ask you very quickly about your background, because if you could just introduce yourself.
yes, I'm a medical doctor and I'm specializing to become a child and adolescent psychiatrist. And I've been doing that for around 5 years. But I've worked as a therapist for longer than that, about 12, 13 years. And I started while I was in medical school. And I've been interested in this psychotherapy form developed by Wilhelm Reich. And he was very interested in the autonomic nervous system, which is the same interest that Porges has. And so when I heard about Porges,
Stephen Porges.
yes, Stephen
Yeah.
Porges, already in 2010 or something, I became interested and I read his books. And in a way, all psychotherapy that works is working with the autonomic nervous system.
Yeah.
So even though we just talk, and in talking therapy, emotions play a crucial role.
So now I have my, what do you call this? HRV measurement thingy? What do you call that in English?
Yeah, the pulse belt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So my autonomic nervous system is now kind of being tracked.
yeah. And while we talk, your heart is beating,
Thank God.
never stops. Yeah. And but it doesn't beat exactly the same rhythm all the time.
That's so, yesterday I saw somebody who explained this really well. I mean, you explained it to me as well, but that we all have this idea that our heart is beating like a metronome. Dun, 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 dun. But basically, our heart is supposed to be beating with a variability because we're going in and out of these nervous system modes, sympathetic and parasympathetic, or relaxed to fight and flight. So what she said, this other doctor, I don't remember her name, was that if we have a too steady heartbeat, this is not a good thing.
True. But the problem often with people who explains things really well is that what they are explaining is a model and maybe not exactly what is actually going on.
Okay.
In a way, these two modes of the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, they are both on at the same time, always.
Okay.
And they function in opposite direction to each other. So the one slows the heart down and the other one increases the heart rate.
So is it I would guess it's the sympathetic that increases the heart rate?
That's right.
Yeah, it wasn't that hard to guess, but
Yeah.
So does it mean that you look at it like, I think of a running car, right? And then you can either accelerate a little bit or you could brake.
Yeah.
But you're always running.
Yeah.
The car's running. I mean, not always, but it's if you're driving. Is that right? If you're driving?
Yeah. So that's also an image that Porges uses. That
I've probably heard it there.
Yes.
I don't remember, yeah.
You always ride with the brake and the gas on at the same time. But not only that, they are fluctuating like this.
They're always fluctuating, even if you don't sense yourself that you're going into a very stressful situation, there will still be a fluctuation?
Always.
I didn't know.
But the interesting thing is that the fluctuation varies with another rhythm.
Okay.
So there's another rhythm that sets the pace.
Yeah.
And that rhythm is the breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't only goes in the heart,
Yeah.
but it goes in all other organs that the autonomic nervous system innervates.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, your pupils.
Yeah.
If I looked really closely on your pupils, and if you are in a relaxed state with good heart rate variability, your pupils will go wider as you breathe in and narrow as you breathe out. Yes.
We'll have to test that, zoom in.
Yeah. So there's like a global aspect that the autonomic nervous system ties together all the organs that it innervates.
Yeah.
And that goes for a lot of organs. The intestines and the blood vessels and the small muscles that raises the hairs in your skin. So if you look really closely, the hairs are like waving. And there are these rhythms that involves and ties together the movement in the whole of the body.
Yeah.
And in a way, that's what Porges is trying to restore. Although he goes in through the air, but through the air, he tries to reach the whole autonomic nervous system and to restore this global functioning.
And rewire the neural pathways is from what I get, that you can actually rewire the neural pathways. And like in a person like me with my background, with trauma, I will have, or maybe most people have this with some sort of trauma, you have your neural pathways damaged or never developed properly. Is that the way, a right way to look at it?
Yeah, or you could look at it another way, that all your learning, everything you learned in your whole life is engraved in the specific structure of your brain and your nervous system. So your habits, your way of reacting is mirrored in how your specific brain is has developed with the pathways that you are referring to.
Yeah.
For instance, I mean, this is not exactly how I usually explain these things.
Yeah.
But in the polyvagal theory, they use this way of explaining it, that you strengthen certain pathways in the brain that you have never really learned to use.
Yeah.
Because other pathways have been more, you developed a habit of using them.
Yeah.
For instance, going more directly into unsafe way of experiencing your surroundings.
Yeah.
And then that behavioral mode is linked with a certain neurological pathway,
Yeah.
and that pathway has been strengthened.
Yeah.
And then now we are trying to help you react in other ways.
Yeah.
And then we are strengthening other pathways that might never have been used, or they might be weak and
Yeah.
not dominating.
Like we're sitting here right now,
Yeah.
and you're talking about things that interest me a lot, but all I can hear is this guy outside. That's not like an uncommon thing, but my brain is going through all the scenarios of, you know, the video and the audio, but
Yeah.
also how safe it is.
Yeah.
You know, all these, yeah. So can't wait for your sound.
What
through
is
the
that
door.
sound? Is it?
Yeah, and the ability to focus on, you know, I'm thinking about when you are always in sort of a fight-flight mode. You're always, or not you, me.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm very often there. And
Yeah.
I just like, oh, what's going on here? And then I can't participate because now half the things you said are just gone. So you'll have to have the
Yeah.
same conversation 100 times.
Well,
but we kind of got ahead of
maybe you are just too polite, and maybe it's my way of presenting this that are not really.
Definitely the sound outside, but
Yeah.
we got a little ahead of ourselves because we just jumped right in, you know, because this is what is interesting to both of us.
Yeah.
But so your background is you're a doctor, you're a therapist, you're now becoming a a psychiatrist for young or children and adolescents, and
Yeah.
you and me, we met at an art exhibition.
Yes.
How odd was that?
That was odd.
And we started just talking
Yeah.
about Stephen Porges,
Yeah.
which I thought, I started talking about trauma stuff.
Yeah.
And I mentioned Stephen Porges, like, you don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, yes, I remember you. You came up to me and Philip, and you were sort of on the. You leaned forward in a way, and you said, "So, guys, are you going to buy anything?"
Is that what I did?
Yeah.
So cheesy. Oh my
Well,
God.
I don't know, but it was for sure challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I found you interesting, and something about your eyes,
Really?
and like presence in your eyes, and sort of a dead-on focus.
Pretty direct, I guess.
Pretty direct. Yeah.
Yeah, we started talking about, I think because I told you that the exhibitionist, is that the right word? That's not the right word. The person who had the exhibition, the artist.
Exhibitor, yeah.
Not the exhibitionist. I have to tell that.
Yeah.
So she made,
Who's that?
yeah, she made the cover. Wasn't that hers?
Right, yeah.
She
Era.
made the cover on my album.
Yeah.
And that's why I started telling, we started talking about how I knew her. We started talking about music. And and then you said, I remember, we are, you said you work with therapy. You didn't say you were a doctor, you said you were a therapist.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And then you said you worked.
I said we are therapists.
Oh yeah, you said
Me and
you and your
Philip.
friend.
Yeah.
And then you said, after we talked about Stephen Porges, we are a small group in Norway who's very interested in the polyvagal theory. And I was like, what? Because it was just fascinating. I don't think I've ever, not that I've talked to that many people about it, but I didn't know that it was, first of all, I didn't know that it was a small environment. I thought it was something everybody knew.
Yeah.
Because it seems obvious to me. But yeah, so you have a group here in Norway that kind of knows about him, or
or I'm part of a group that really is working with a specific form of therapy. And as I said, myself, I practice the therapy as Wilhelm Reich did it and as he described it. But he lived in Norway in the 1930s, and then he influenced other therapists, psychologists and medical doctors. And from that, a number of different therapy forms developed, and some of which exist today. And also, in a way, these therapy forms have spread out. So even though Porges might not know it, but many of the American body-oriented psychotherapy traditions that he talks about and that is popular in the United States, if you see where the inspiration comes from, it actually leads back to Oslo in the 1930s, 40s, 50s and 60s. And so that's our group, with many of them are physiotherapists, some psychologists. I'm a medical doctor, and there are a few others. And we know of the polyvagal theory, and I think probably I am the one who really knows most about it.
So explain a little bit more about the polyvagal theory.
I think part of the difficulty about polyvagal theory is that to really understand it, you need to know a fair share of physiology about the autonomic nervous system.
Yeah.
And if you don't know that, it's very easy to, in a way, reduce it to a model.
And it's not a model.
Well, I mean, the autonomic nervous system is something that exists, a material object that exists
like this
in
wall.
Time and space, like this wall.
Okay.
It's actual nerves inside our bodies sending electrical and chemical signals. And like the vagus nerve, like I told you last time, that I actually seen it.
Yeah, you said it's like 1 centimeter thick or something?
It's quite thick, yeah. Like that somewhere.
Yeah, like the charging cable for the Mac.
Yeah, or maybe for the phone, somewhere in between. Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
So and then you have a model to describe how this is functioning.
Yeah.
And the model has to be a lot more simple than how the system is actually working. Maybe that's a little philosophical point, which might be boring to other people, but to me it's very important that, for instance, when someone say, "Oh, now I'm really in the fight or flight now, but 5 minutes ago I was in the ventral, and this morning I was in the dorsal." The polyvagal approach uses that as what we call psycho-educational purpose. And probably you have to do that when you are explaining to the patient how this works, but then you are also simplifying. For instance, you are identifying your feeling of being stressed, that you are constantly in the fight or flight mode. But I don't think you actually are, because you are, to me, you come across as a very social person, and your pupils are not like this all the time. And actually, I've seen your HRV chart.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just how it feels that I identify those stressed feelings with being in fight or flight. So that's why what we're doing is going to be so interesting. And maybe we should explain a little bit about that.
Yes.
The SSP protocol.
Yes.
So do you want to explain shortly what it is, or so let's do.
Sure.
Let me do my version, because I've read about it, but I'm not a therapist or doctor.
Yeah.
But what made me interested in this is the fact that you can't cheat it. So I've had therapy in many forms and I've gotten a lot better, but
Yeah.
I think it's hard for the therapist to kind of crack through it's not as hard today as it was, but it was back in the day. And I think there's layers that I'm still fighting with inside myself, that I want to see if a listening protocol where you listen to frequencies and you're supposed to get your neural pathways rewired through your middle ear muscles. To me, that's something I can't cheat. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can't get out of that with, pretending to be confident.
Yeah.
So you said I'm a very social person, so you don't think that I'm constantly in fight or flight. And that might be true, but I'm also not, I'm also very immature emotionally. So I have violent responses to things that are, normal, like dropping something on the floor, or, if I talk to someone, I might seem confident, but inside me, I might be like heart beating like crazy and mouth getting dry. I just become really good at hiding it, I think.
Yeah.
Because I'm probably not as good as I think. So that's my reason for wanting to try the safe and sound protocol. I want to see, not if I could cheat it, but I want to do something that I can't cheat.
Okay.
So what about you?
A challenge.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah. Well, I could tell you a little bit or explain a little bit what it is about.
Please.
So, yes, Porges, he has described what he calls the polyvagal theory, which is a theory about how a person can be in different modes and react to his surroundings on the basis of which mode he or she is in. And these modes correspond to a mode in the autonomic nervous system. So in a way, what he's saying is that our nervous system is deciding for us how we are to experience ourselves and our surroundings, and how we are going to act on the basis of how our nervous system interprets the situation we are in. So he describes these three modes. The first one is the fight or flight mode, which is what you basically learn in any textbook in psychology or psychophysiology, which was described in 1929 by Walter B. Cannon, the fight or flight response. So that's the one mode, and for a long time that was everything you learned in physiology regarding emotions in any class that was taught in psychology or medicine anywhere.
When you say 1929, I think this is right when the big economic crisis happened.
Yeah.
I'm like, was he inspired by all the fight or flight reactions that he saw around him?
Yeah, that's interesting. Actually, Walter B. Cannon, he was a military physician, and he was active in the First World War, and he probably saw a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
And he was very interested in how the physiology reacts in such situations. But yeah, maybe the crack.
The crack triggered a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. So the problem that Porges addresses is that the other side of the autonomic nervous system, the parasympathetic side, there was never a lot of interest in that, he says. That the standard medicine and psychology was only interested in the fight or flight mode. and they thought the parasympathetic mode just dealt with the metabolism of food and keeping the blood pressure up and things like that. So they didn't think it had any relevance for emotions or behavior.
Huh.
And even though that was the standard, there were others in the 1930s who were very interested in the parasympathetic branch. For instance, Reich wrote a whole book about it. So what Porges is doing is that he is bringing attention to the parasympathetic mode of the autonomic nervous system. What he also says is that this mode has two branches, the dorsal and the ventral, and that's why he calls it the polyvagal.
Yeah, you wanted to.
My joke is that he should have called it the bivagal because he only talks about two vagus systems.
Because that's what I wanted to say. So there is only two modes. No, the sympathetic is in one, and the parasympathetic and dorsal are in another. So they're two different modes.
They are two different, actually two different anatomical systems.
So there's two different anatomical systems, but three different nervous system states.
Yes, because the parasympathetic branch, Porges divides that into two. Porges says that a healthy organism can switch between these three modes.
Okay.
And two of the modes are in a way defensive physiological systems, like the dorsal parasympathetic mode, which is what you can call a shutdown. So Porges often goes to primitive mammals, and he says like a mouse for instance, when it's chased by a cat, it might just drop dead.
Yeah.
And it's not really dead, but the blood pressure goes down, the respiratory rate goes down, the higher functions of the brain goes down, it faints.
I think a lot of people don't know that. I think the common perception of that is that the mouse fakes its own death like an analytical tool to get away, or not a tool, but but it's really a physical thing that it can't help. It just happens. It has no control over it, the mouse.
Yeah. I mean, both things could occur.
Yeah.
But the real fainting is certainly happening, and that's the physiological defense mechanism.
Is it like if I were to jump from a really tall building, as I plummet to my probably certain death, I would know, that my body would know that it's going to hurt so much that it will shut every...
That's a very interesting example.
I don't know why I've never thought of doing that, but it's just occurred to me that, will our body do this?
It's a very interesting question.
Do we know, or?
Probably not. It hasn't been tested so much.
We never asked anyone.
No, and put on measuring gear and push them out of a tall building.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That will be a new one.
Yeah. No, but interestingly, you have these animals that goes into hibernation, like bears, for instance, and also other smaller animals, more primitive animals. And there has been argued, and I think that's the case, that these kind of mechanisms step in so that they really lower their metabolism. And when the metabolism, especially the metabolism of the brain, is lowered, then the brain needs less oxygen.
Yeah.
And then it can survive with less oxygen for a longer time, and then the heart rate goes down and the respiratory rate goes down. So, and that also illustrates an important point about these physiological systems, that they are not always identified with only one type of behavior, but different types of behavior can utilize them in different ways.
So are you saying that you can have a different behavior? One person who is in a fight-flight response can be different from another, or are you saying that the same person can have different behaviors in different fight-flight situations?
Both. I'm saying both. So for instance,
Okay.
if you're playing soccer and you're having a great time and you're really excited, and then your sympathetic mode can be really activated, but at the same time you can be social and have the facial mimicry that Porges is also talking about. And in a way, maybe this becomes a bit too philosophical or complex, but it illustrates that the models are in a way more clear-cut than the reality.
Yeah, because that's a good example.
Yeah,
The football playing, because if I were to play football,
yeah,
I would not be
yeah,
smiling and socially engaging. I would be
yeah,
both scared and angry and competitive,
Yeah.
and fight. It would be real for me, even if it's a friendly game.
yeah,
Nobody would know this, but I would be like, I'm gonna win.
yeah.
And if I can't win because I'm not good at football, I would still have
You
all
would be
these.
the bad loser.
I'd be a terrible loser.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting point, that I think to reach maturity when we're talking about these different systems is to be able to use the different modes in
without fear, maybe.
with nuances,
Okay.
and to combine them. Whereas if you regress to a less mature state, then your behavior would be more stereotypical and less able to combine different modes. And I think that's a general principle that is interesting.
So I could go into these different modes and be in a fight-flight mode, but I could still be enjoying myself, and I could have a discussion or a conversation about something that is confrontational or maybe a conflict, and resolve it without, and maybe even my pulse would be higher, but I still wouldn't necessarily be immature, is what you're saying, is when you have sorted through. We're talking like, oh, when we're done with this project, I'm going to be the most mature person you ever met. But what I'm saying is that a sign of a healthy nervous system is when you can go into a sympathetic or a fight-flight mode, but not have many negative feelings or emotions. Is that a way to put it? Or feel stressed?
Yeah.
But you still
or
have
you would be able to combine the different modes, and you would be able to go from one state to another with ease, according to what is needed in your surroundings.
Yeah.
So for instance, if you're driving in a car with a friend and you're talking with your friend and happy, smiling, then you would be in the ventral mode, and then something happens on the road, and then you have to shift. You are in danger. Suddenly you don't hear your friend's voice anymore.
Yeah.
You're not interested in her social mimicry of the face. You are dealing with a threat. And then also you don't have a social face anymore.
I feel like this is me a lot of the time.
Yeah, okay, good. And then you focus on what goes on in the dangerous situation, and you are able to switch from the one to the other. And then maybe when the danger is over, you are able to switch back. If you're a healthy person, but
Yeah.
someone else might sit there in the car and someone talking with mimic, and this person sits only with has no mimicry.
Yeah.
And that would be someone who is really constantly in the fight-flight mode.
Yeah, so,
Although I don't really think those people exist, but or it will be someone who goes into the fight-flight mode when a dangerous situation arises,
yeah.
and then stays like that for 48 hours. To get back to the main thread, what the SSP does is that through the air it sends in music, so-called filtered music, where the frequencies of the music varies, and then it engages some muscles in the middle ear that tightens and relaxes the eardrum. It engages those muscles in like a sort of a workout. It helps those muscles to contract and relax, and by doing that it also trains the neural underpinning of those movements. By doing that, it also starts helping the organism to be able to shift between these different modes in the autonomic nervous system.
Yeah.
So
basically, when this is a listening protocol, so I'm supposed to be on this table over here,
yeah,
and I'm going to put my headphones on, and I'm going to listen for how long is it each time? As long as what's the maximum time if you don't have a response or reaction to it?
well, there isn't really a maximum time, but
Let's say we
the
set
thing
an
is
hour.
that if you don't have a response, then the cueing and the tuning in to you would probably be wrong. So the protocol, there are different protocols.
So in this app,
Yes.
there are different protocols because I'm supposed to feel certain things,
Yes.
or have emotional.
Yeah.
I'm going to go through some emotional journey that we
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. So
I know I'm smiling, but I'm not excited.
no.
I'm really scared
Okay.
because I can't
Is that
control it at all.
Is that how you react to being scared?
Not
you smile?
always, but at this, yeah,
Yeah.
this is really,
Yes.
yeah, because I'm afraid to be sick.
Yeah.
That's really my big, and I'm like, what? Who cares
yeah.
if I get sick and nauseous?
Yeah.
But I don't want to be.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Well, so we could use that as to talk about an important aspect about the protocol, that you start really slow. So you start with small movements, and
what do you mean movements?
well, the thing is that, like your eye, if you turn the light on a little brighter, then your pupils will react to the light
Yeah.
by narrowing in. And if you turn down the light, your pupil will react by opening up. So by turning the light on or brighter and less bright, you would engage your pupil in this movement. And it's the same with these muscles that tightens and loosens the eardrum. That you play music with a range of frequency, and then you change the rate of frequency, and then you change it back, and then you change the range of frequency, and then you change it back.
Yeah.
And what the system does is that it engages your eardrum and these muscles in that movement. And first you need to get the patient to catch on in a way. So if you do too much, you might lose the patient altogether. You might not be able to engage the eardrum in that movement. But so then you start really slow, and then once...
So you're going to be sitting like with some controls?
No, I'm going to be watching you.
Okay, so
yeah.
Where do these controls happen? These turning, you're doing these kind of, so where are those parameters?
Yeah.
How do you tweak the parameters? Or?
Well, you can do that in two ways. One is the different protocols, and the other, because there are three different protocols. One protocol just plays ordinary music, unfiltered, but it's the music in itself also has some movement or some of these qualities. And then there is one protocol that has some filtration, but the filtration doesn't vary. And then there's a third protocol called the core protocol, and in that the range of frequencies is pulsating. So that's one way of attuning to the patient. Like with you, we might go directly onto the core, or yeah. But with someone else, maybe some person who would have trouble just coming in here once a week.
Yeah.
Or someone who would be very scared of just walking into this door.
Yeah.
Then we would probably start with just the music, and maybe even the anxiety to having on headphones would be too big. So that's the one parameter, and the other parameter is the time. So the total core protocol is 5 hours, but we might start doing 3 minutes, and maybe I will watch you, and maybe I will see that you really start sweating, or maybe your face gets very pale, or you might get tinnitus.
I have that.
Yeah. So that's how I would understand where you are in relation to the dosage.
I wanted to ask you, now that you explained a little bit about the SSP, what do you have any thoughts about what could be like the pros and cons? Like we have talked a little bit about what we could benefit from this.
Yeah.
You know, learning to regulate the nervous system and going in and out of these different states in our nervous system more easily.
Yeah.
What do you have any cons? Like, do you have anything negative that you think? We haven't
Sure.
started yet, but
Sure.
yeah, let me hear those.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything negative about the SSP in itself.
You don't think it could do harm?
Well, I think it could, but I think probably then the patient would run away, would quit, and then it wouldn't work. So in the program I have to go through to be able to practice this, they say with SSP you can never go too slow.
Okay.
Except with someone like you, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
But you can always go too fast.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So you think that could be...
But
Yeah,
but I think if you go too fast, you might elicit a reaction. People might walk out with a headache or tinnitus, yeah. And they might never come back.
Yeah.
I don't really think that you would drive someone into suicide or psychosis.
Nobody will jump
But,
from a building while they're measuring their pulse.
Well,
Well, we never know.
hopefully not.
Hopefully.
Yeah, maybe there's a big seal down there with socially engaged fire people who's catching you.
There you-
Yes.
Now you're talking about one of my favorite movies
Yeah.
called The Game.
So you feel safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was and everybody will embrace you, love you for how you are.
Yeah.
So, well, the
So,
goal.
but I think interestingly, and also the SSP educators, they stress this, that it's not just the algorithm.
Yeah.
The role of the therapist is very important, both to work this thing with the dosage, the parameters,
Yeah.
to structure the process, but also to provide context, to provide a frame around the therapy, the development. So what I'm most critical towards, or the most negative thing I would have to say, is that it has the aspect of being presented as something of a quick fix.
Yeah, that's what I...
Yeah.
That's...
And when you
definitely
combine
what I
that with American marketing,
Yeah.
and maybe they have to do it that way to get people interested. And they are certainly making nuances, and in the they are saying things like it's not just the algorithm, it's the therapist, it's the relationship with the therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can also ask, what is it that actually is creating the change? Is it the algorithm, or is it the therapist and the space that the therapist is providing?
Yeah.
Or is it your expectation, the placebo effect?
The readiness to want to change.
Yeah, probably it's all of that.
Yeah.
Interestingly, there are also other forms of therapy that works in a similar way. Trying to get the patient to be able to switch between these modes.
Yeah.
And also that is also creating new pathways, new neurological pathways.
Yeah.
And that could be when you touch someone, you also does something to the autonomic nervous system.
Yeah.
So touching could be a way of helping people to regulate their autonomic nervous system in a different way. In the Reichian mode of doing therapy, one often use a flashlight on the pupils. That is another way, doing something to muscles in the eye that are innervated by the autonomic nervous system.
Is it like EMDR-ish?
Well, it has some similarities,
Okay.
but we do it in a different way.
Yeah.
Another thing you could do is to have people breathe out by putting sound like ah.
Yeah. This is very interesting what you're saying, because
Yeah.
two other forms of therapy that
Yeah.
I'm trying or testing, like the polyvagal yoga
Yeah.
with Dr. Ariel Schwartz.
Yeah.
She has a lot of these eye movements with
Yeah.
her spinal movements, which are strangely having an effect,
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah.
And another one, there's Dr. Amy Apigian. She has this wooing.
Yeah.
Ooh, and it's and it's
Because
soothing.
when you
really.
do that, I'm going crazy now, but the Russian way to do it is the and sometimes Anyway,
it's very nice. Now you're
Thank you.
turning into ASMR.
yeah, you actually create resistance to the out breath, and then you are also working on the smooth muscles inside your bronchioles.
Wow.
Reich, in the 1930s, he called his therapy vegetotherapy,
Yeah.
because then the autonomic nervous system was called the vegetative nervous system. And another of my heroes, Trygve Bråtøy, he was the man who made Norwegian psychomotor physiotherapy together with Odel Bülow Hansen. He says in his book, De nervøse sinn, he says that every psychotherapy that works is a form of vegetotherapy. So whatever therapy you do, if it works, it will have impact on your autonomic nervous system and how your organism is regulating that.
So that's a great way to lead to my last question.
Good.
What do you think, what makes this a success? If it works, how does it work? How do we know?
Well, I think, of course, the person's experience is really the success, that the person who receives the therapy experiences changes in his or her life. For instance, many people with psychiatric illness, be it serious or light, find being social with other people is demanding in some way or another. And that's something that is seen in this type of therapy, the SSP, that patients often report that goes easier. So maybe someone who always feels being social is difficult, they may sit down one day and find, okay, today I actually talked to this person and I just felt everything was so easy.
Yeah.
We were just talking and having a good time. That could be one isolated episode within a full day where things are difficult, but these small changes starting to happen.
Yeah.
And then once you get that social connection, that is also therapy. So when you start connecting more in an easy way to other people, being social will start being therapy for you also. And then that mode, being in the ventral, as they would say, is strengthened in you.
Yeah.
And also the neural underpinnings
Yeah.
is strengthened.
Yeah. So there's really no way of knowing other than there's no markers, like we are
There
testing.
are markers, yes, sure.
Because we're going to test my
The
blood, my HRV.
HRV, yeah.
We're already measuring these things
Yeah,
now.
the HRV is the best measure.
Okay.
How
How should that change over the heart rate
It should
variability?
increase.
It should increase.
But it's only the part of heart rate variability that we call the respiratory sinus arrhythmia, the RSA. That is.
Maybe we shouldn't get too technical, but
yeah, we should have a
whole
new podcast only on that. But
you do that.
It's important for me to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the proof of the pudding is really in the experience of the person.
Yeah.
But the heart rate variability is a good measurement.
Yeah.
To my experience, it is, and also research has shown that it's a good expression of the relaxed, pulsating social state with a free respiration.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, isn't it weird when you think, I think there's no coincidences, right? That I was just starting this project and I'd found this person in Sweden.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I meet you at this art exhibition, and here we are. You know, that's just, I think that's amazing. Sometimes things come your way when you need it. I'm very excited to try. I'm scared and excited to try this.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you for your time today, and we're gonna make some videos, and we'll probably have another episode like this to explain once we feel like we've gone some lengths with this project. Some updates. Probably when we've done it for quite a while.
For a while. Yeah,
we'll
that's a good idea.
But we're supposed to meet now once a week to do this from next week.
Yes.
And it'll be very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You too. And I'm happy that you came along, and I'm happy that you invited me to do this podcast today.
Thank you for listening. Please share your comments or questions with us at spirals@unicornvoice.com. And to learn more about trauma, go to unicornvoice.com. Now you get to listen to some of my original songs or weird demos. Beating on the heart door at night, treating all the symptoms inside. I'm awfully in a haste. Don't let me have a taste. I wonder am I here? Glowing at the cat door at night, beating on the bell, boy, it ain't right. Tearing out the weakness, shine a light. Kill all emotions inside. I wonder am I in